بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين يتلون كتاب الله وأقاموا الصلاة.
Now, if you just look at the previous scholars in Islam, which we would call the Hakims, the Polymaths, they didn't learn like this. So they could study maths and science and biology, but they were polymaths because they interlocked. They saw the relationship between these subjects, and through the contemplation of the natural world and their connection with the Quran, that's how, as we know, Islam led the world, opened the doors to the world for science. And in fact, now there's a new movement happening for the modern polymath. And so that's a new movement which is now taking place. If we look at the political system, again, everything is happening in its silos. If we look at the social system, everything is happening in its silos. Everything is disconnected. If we look at the economic system, everything is happening in its silos. If we look at the environmental crisis, everything is happening in its silos. So we are just seeing things disconnected. We are seeing things, particularly coming from the media, as snapshots, and so we just can't process it. And so, is this normal? And the answer is no. So it's deliberate, and it's a process to condition the way we think. So when you start to engage with the experts, as I've done, is you begin to realize, if we look at the brain, because we got to a stage where people thought, no, there's so much research being done on the brain, but no. How we are living now in the 21st century is, ideally, the brain should function. It has the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, and they should work in sync with the mizan. But since the demise, the birth of Western civilization, 16th, 17th century, some may even go back further, but that's where we're sort of starting it. Since the birth of the Western civilization, it's changed. And now, particularly in the West, they've been programmed only to use the left hemisphere. And the left hemisphere now has become so powerful that the experts, the psychologists, and these psychiatrists have now realized that the left hemisphere has become so powerful, it's literally dominating the right hemisphere, to the point where we don't know what can happen with the right hemisphere. And so why are we in a crisis? Because we are seeing things. It's a crisis of how we see the world, because the left hemisphere has completely dominated. So we're living in the end of times. We just start to look at the dajjalic system and the event of the dajjal, seeing things with one eye. In these boxes, one can start to sort of connect and make the links. But so how should the brain work? The brain should work with a balance of the right and the left hemisphere. So whatever the brain sees, it should use both of the hemispheres. And then if it's going to zoom in, it will then use the left hemisphere to take something in context. And then it will pass that information to the right hemisphere to then start to look at it holistically, to connect the dots. That's what should happen. But what's happening at the moment is the brain's just focused on the left hemisphere. It's zooming in with the left hemisphere, and it's not then zooming out and reconnecting with the right hemisphere. So it's totally one-sided, and that's what's destroying us. So this is the issue that we are now facing. So what can we do about it? So we need to rewire ourselves. And as I say, it's not going to happen overnight. If this has been a deliberate approach by the forces there. It's been going since roughly the 16th and 17th century, and it would take time.
وإذ صرفنا إليك نفرا من الجن يستمعون القرآن